Okay. Christy, I am so excited to spend this time with you and celebrating your new job,
I know,
your
I'm so
new
excited.
awesome position, your
I'm
next
really excited.
adventure.
Yeah.
I just want to say cheers and congratulations.
Cheers back.
Yeah, and
Thanks for your help.
mm, I um I just want to say that through this experience and through this time working with you, which, gosh, I think has been like maybe about 7 months,
That's about right.
um, you have really blown me away with how you have shown up time and again in your job search, just working smarter rather than harder, doing the things that I often tell my clients that they need to do to be successful for the long haul, right? And so when I was reflecting on spending some time with you and sharing our celebration video, I really wanted to have the opportunity for us to connect with people to share a little bit about your journey because people are going through so much right now, so similar to what you have been experiencing. And it's really hard for people right now, in a lot of
Yeah, I think,
ways.
yeah, I mean, the market used to feel like a marathon, and now it's maybe more like a triathlon. Um, you have to you have to have a lot of different skills in play. You have to be able to sort of context switch and switch in and out, and it's longer. It just is. It is longer than it took me longer than I wanted. And I'm so glad that I hung in because there were some other jobs on the table along the way.
Mhm.
Um, One of them would have been a step back
Mhm.
in title and in pay.
Uh-huh.
Another and a couple were not values fits for me. They made me really uncomfortable to think about my work contributing to things that I consider to be harmful. And where I landed,
Which is like compromising your values, basically.
yeah, no, yeah. Where I landed is I'm going to product manage learning products for engineers who are solving some of the world's biggest problems in a very stable nonprofit. And it's a good title fit from where I came from. It's a good skills and capabilities fit. It's a fantastic values fit. And it was worth hanging in a little bit longer than I thought I would be on the market. And it's very real that people are feeling that impatience or discouragement. The market is very tough and very demanding and very competitive right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me before, unfortunately you were laid off and that happened when?
I was laid off the week before Thanksgiving, which, as you can imagine, was just really an excellent time to start a job search. It's right before the holidays. No, it's a terrible time to
Oh,
start a job search. But I think actually, with 2020 hindsight, not at the time, I'm not taking away my feelings or the feelings of 50 other people
mhm.
who were restructured at that time.
Uh-huh.
Um, what was good about that is I sort of became aware pretty quickly, like, hey, things are pretty thin right now. I may apply for a couple of jobs and just get my feet wet. But
Mhm.
what I really need to do is take 2 or 3 weeks to be a person outside of the job that I had been in, outside of the company culture I had been swimming upstream against.
Mhm.
I have things to focus on in front of me with my family and the holidays. And how can I ground into that and again get my feet wet a little bit, start thinking about my strategy, and then really go to town
Yeah.
in January of 2025. Really consider that. Like there was sort of like a soft start and then, like a launch of the
Yeah.
job search.
Yeah. What was your experience of the market with your soft launch and then your hard launch? And I know time periods are interesting, right? Because I do think there tend to be some of those cycles, right? Where people are kind of gearing up sometimes and getting ready for a search, whether they've been laid off or whether they're afraid of being laid off or
Yep.
they're just, oh, I want to put myself out there and see what's out there now. January tends to be that time frame that people do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Um, but what was your experience of?
Couple things that I noticed. I was able to leverage my network pretty quickly to kind of just, again, put my feet in the pool.
Mhm.
I actually ended up being a finalist for a job at the end of December and the beginning of January. And I took the silver medal, right?
Uh-huh.
And silver medals don't always
So
feel
hard.
good, but there was something validating for me about being able to do that. I also was able to take a step back and say, all right, there's not as many jobs available to be applying for or reaching out for. There's not as many companies that are signaling that they are looking. Um, and that means this is a great time for me to decide if my resume and my LinkedIn profile reflect what has changed for me.
Uh-huh.
Um, I would say as I went into January and February and went more into like my real launch of my search, some things that came up for me beyond just how are my professional documents representing me, which is always a big hurdle,
Yeah.
um, was really thinking hard about where do I want to bring my skills? What kinds of places do I want to work? And am I going to just look at titles that match this title, or am I open to looking at other things? I did end up going from a product manager position to a product manager position.
Uh-huh.
But along the way, I had 3 or 4 streams like of searches that I was doing where it wasn't just looking at product manager positions.
Uh-huh.
And having
Great.
that soft launch time gave me just a little bit of like warm up time to figure out like how does it feel? Do I feel like a product manager? Could I take a program manager? Could I take a product owner?
Yeah.
I looked at a couple of like sort of project supervisor or project manager, and I'm like, ooh, there's some stuff there that actually doesn't feel like a fit for me. Some people think that they're one for one, but it wasn't for me. Could I be a content leader, or a people manager? So
Yeah.
just taking the time to really feel that out and having a couple of months where I was getting up to speed
Yeah.
with my
I
thoughts about that and my professional documentation.
I love how you describe that, right? Because some people can be very focused on the position title. Ooh, if I'm this title, can I move down to this title? Or if I'm at this title, and I think people have to be more focused on sometimes what those responsibilities and duties entail that are in alignment with their bullseye of their wheelhouse, is what I like to call it. But
Totally.
also defining sometimes what that bullseye of your wheelhouse is, as well as finding, searching for jobs that fit that. And are there jobs that fit that?
And just really thinking about like you had given me some strengths finder assessments, some assessments that pointed at, the things that I value and that I act on, really trying to draw a picture for myself of that and then hold it up alongside different open positions or companies looking for people and saying, how would these fit if I was doing these duties
Yeah,
or if I was in charge of these deliverables or these people on the day to day? Like, does this really draw on my strengths or is it going to deplete me?
right.
Um, is it going to feel too easy? Where's the challenge, the
Yeah,
next challenge going to be? Just really starting to think about that and trying to say, who am I? And who do these assessments help me see myself as and
yeah.
present myself as? But also, how would that fit in to a day-to-day work life in this job description or this company description?
Absolutely. And how is that a culture fit for you as well, with aligning with the company and what they're all
Yeah,
about?
and when you come from a company that has had 3 layoffs in a year and therefore 3 restructurings, three, sort of big tsunamis to the culture,
Mhm.
for me, culture became incredibly important.
Mhm.
I want to go to a culture where people are doing good work, where there's work-life balance, where there's a sense that we're pulling, we're rowing the boat together to do good, and where people are respected for their expertise and their contributions. And that became crystal clear for me throughout the search.
That's awesome. Um, I often look at the must-haves and deal breakers, right? And usually I'll say, did you get all of your must-haves and none of your deal breakers? And I know in your journey, which uh, was really quite a journey, Christy. I know that you were the runner up for a couple different positions. I know you accepted a position that did not align with where you wanted to be, so you ended up stepping out of that. And then, when you finally told me that you got this awesome job, you're like, this was the job that I was waiting for.
There was almost like a glow around this job posting when I first read it. I for anybody else watching this, I'm not very crunchy like this, but I read the job description and the first thought in my head was like, did they surveil me at my last job? Because there are things here that I did in my last job that were just part of who I am and
Yes.
how I show up that weren't in my job description, but were things that I just sort of took charge of. And then very secretly, I didn't even tell my partner. I had like a huge folder of like, here's every job I've applied to. For this one, I did not put it in the big folder. I put it on my desktop. I was like, this one's special, but like, I can't say it out loud, right? But this one's special. It feels like
Yeah.
it's the one, and it's almost that feeling that if anybody has ever done like, internet dating, or like if you're a shopper and you've been looking for like that perfect purse,
Yes.
or that perfect pair of boots,
Yes.
like you see it and it's just it calls to you from
Yeah.
across the field and you want a slow motion run to it. Like it was almost that
Yeah.
feeling.
Well, the crazy thing is, that I say job searching is the closest thing to dating I think that there is.
In so many ways, because you're trying to present your best self without giving up who you really are, right? Like
Right.
without not
You
not
want to
not
be
saying that
true
you
to
wouldn't,
yourself.
yeah, like you don't want to walk away from who you really are, but you also want to be the best version of yourself in
Abs-
interviews and the
abs-
best version of your skills and your success stories.
Absolutely. And that's what I think can be so challenging is how, and this is so much for, the people listening as well. How do you show up consistently as the best professional self, best personal self that you can when you are trying to persevere through a long job search?
Yeah, some things became very true for me. And I'm going to start with the stuff that's, maybe harder and more complicated for some people than the like strategy stuff. The first thing is, there are just like in dating, when you had a promising first date and then it didn't pan out, there are real feelings, right? It
Yes.
can feel it is a loss, It feels like, wow, I started to picture myself there. I wondered what could be. And when that road ends, it feels sudden. Sometimes it feels like you don't have a chance to respond, right? Like, oh, you didn't get it. It
Christy,
hurts.
I wanted to share a little bit about, this isn't just two interviews. Tell me like the process, the interview process that you may have gone through.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good point. Several people expressed surprise at this. For somebody in a product role, it's very common that you would do 3 to 6 interviews.
Okay.
And that at least one of those interviews would be either a live case study. Hey, we're going to give you a prompt to solve a problem.
Mhm.
Um, or we're going to give you an assignment to show us how you would solve a problem. And then an interview is to come in and share that. It's very common.
Yeah.
We're not typically, for those of us working in sort of my side of a technology business, we're not typically a 2 or 3 interview hire.
Mhm.
We're typically at least 4 and sometimes as many as 6.
Okay.
My longest process was a 6 interview process,
Wow.
and it literally went on for 2 months because of people's schedules and travel times and like that it sometimes you really have to hang in if you're still in the process. And then of course there are the feelings when you find out you're not in the process
Yeah.
anymore. So for
Right.
me, it
Oh,
became really instrumental to make space for those feelings so that
thank
they
you for
weren't
sharing.
following me,
Thank
right?
you for sharing that because some people don't realize. And if you've been through that two or three times and
Mhm.
then you're the runner up, how do you get up and put yourself back out there?
Um, don't do it right away. Don't do it that hour, right? Don't let your amygdala drive the bus, right? Because you're hurting, right? You're sad, you're tired, you're disappointed, you feel unseen, right? All of these things
All of
feel
those things.
they're almost like related to core traumas of being abandoned or being like not belonging, right?
Oh my God.
So
Yes, you are tapping into that so dramatic. Yes.
yeah, but for I mean, that's what it feels like when we get exited from a job too, is you've lost your tribe. You don't belong, you're voted off the island. So in both cases,
And I
make
think it's
space.
minimized. I really do think that overall job loss and I think it's minimized in just in our society and in our culture. I just think that it's put in a totally different category where people don't realize it's loss of community, it's loss of purpose, it's loss of sense of self, sometimes
Lots of
it's loss of
contributions that
identity.
you were invested in. You know, if you want to keep those relationships that you had with people that you worked with, they're gonna look different.
Mhm.
If some of your people that you were really invested in are still there, there's like these feelings of like, I'm not there and you are there, and them thinking like you're not there and I am here. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot with it. I did take that time, because the time that I entered the market was not the best time to start searching. I took that time to try to be a human being. I lay on my bed for like one whole day with my dogs and was just like, nope, I'm not doing anything.
yeah.
And then when I had those losses of, nope, I'm not in this process anymore, you get the auto email, right?
Mm,
Always warm and fuzzy to get the auto email.
yeah,
And you just, for me, it's asking myself, what can I do to make space for these feelings? And sometimes it was taking a long speed walk, and sometimes it was taking a slow walk with the dog, and sometimes it was screaming into a pillow, and oftentimes my partner would try to be helpful and say, like, can I get you ice cream? Can I pour you an alcoholic drink? And I'd be like, no, I just need to feel sad. Like, I'm not going to numb this feeling.
yeah.
I'm going to feel sad because tomorrow I have to dust myself off and do the next thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to not let the negative feelings take over. And for me, the way that I've learned to do that is to give them space now. Give them space right now when you're sad or when it's safe for you to do so.
Yeah.
Just give it that room, and then get up the next day and, walk your dogs and make your breakfast and figure out what the next step is.
Yeah. I love what you also said about the learning experience, right? And I think that I said to you at one point, like, well, it's kind of like a game, and there's a part of it somehow that you have to find a way to not take it so personally, but it is personal, right? But you then mentioned that it was a learning game. Tell me.
There were a couple times that I didn't make it through processes, or I made it through and silver medaled. And of course, didn't get the ending that I wanted. Like, oh, I really started to picture myself there. I really liked that hiring manager. I really thought their process was one that I was succeeding at, all of these things. Um, I would take my time to feel sad. And maybe not right away, because you can't always just sort of put your brain back on task right away after those big feelings. But as I would be working out or washing dishes or folding laundry, just sort of letting it process of what could I do better? Because for me, always moving forward means learning and improving.
Mm.
And whether that's in my work, whether that's, hey, there's new technology, whether it's, reading a book about somebody else's inspiring way to tackle a problem, whether it's helping other people grow. Um, if you can learn and keep moving forward, that's how we stay relevant. That's how we stay engaged.
Yeah.
And that became very true for my job search as well. So, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better is not the same as blaming yourself and saying I didn't do good enough.
Yeah.
Um, but just to say, like, what can I learn from this? Right? There were a couple times where I was like, wow, I really nailed my pitch, and sometimes, the what can I do also needs to include what are you going to keep? What are you going to keep doing? I
Yep.
really nailed my pitch,
Yep.
or I really dialed my pitch for this particular job's needs, this particular hiring manager's needs. That's something that I really worked on was not just having a pitch,
Yep.
but having a pitch that I could slightly customize.
Yep. Which is
Um,
key. I think making it job relevant, role relevant, relevant to what the needs of the position and the company in that moment.
right, what problem are they trying to solve? And how can you demonstrate that you have the skills to do it? A couple of times it was, hey, I got asked a curveball question, and I was not prepared for that. And on one occasion, I got asked a curveball question, and I mean, I just totally landed it, and I was like, yes, And I need to tell other people in my cohort about this question and what I think it means.
Yes.
And one time, I got asked a curveball question, and I was just like, wow, I don't think I landed that. Like I certainly did my best, right? We're all always doing our best, but what would better be next time,
What's a
right?
curve? What do you remember? One of the curveball
I
questions?
remember them both. So one of them was, as a product manager, what is a hill that you used to die on that you are no longer willing to die on? I landed that question so deep. I parked it. I mean, I really, really like, I was like, this is a question about growth, right?
Yes.
This is a question about where you used to be and where you are now, and like what trade-offs are you willing to make, which in a product manager role is fantastically important. The other question sort of was a case study question, which I knew I needed to level up on, but it was also just a wild card. Because case study questions typically you get 15 minutes to answer. I
Uh-huh.
had 9 minutes to answer. This is a wild card case study. If a benefactor gave you $1 million to make a difference in education, we need to hear from you. What are you making? How are you making it? How are you getting return on investment in a year? And how did you spend the money in 9 minutes? I am not sure that there is a right way to do that question, but the way that I approached it, I left that interview knowing that that hiring manager, whatever he thought of my answer, he did not love my structured approach.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't think I'm moving to the next one. I don't think I liked him. I'm
Yeah.
not sure he liked my approach. And how can I think about how I walk people through my strategic thinking? How can I present that in a way that resonates with people and doesn't chafe on the interview process? So just these moments of like, what would I keep and what would I do differently or better next time without entering in the self-blame,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that, Christy, because we want to beat ourselves up in those situations, but, and sometimes we do. And, yet we have to really do take that step back and just kind of say, how can I do this better next time? You know?
absolutely. And certain like I had those moments. At one point I did look at my partner and I said, I feel like I'm letting you down because I didn't get moved forward. And he was like, you are absolutely not letting me down. You're gonna land before I did the last time I was on the market. You are doing your best. This market is really tough, and I know that you're gonna pick yourself up tomorrow and do the next thing. So again, sometimes you got to feel the feels, and then as that dust settles, okay, what can I learn so that as I move forward, I am just increasingly ready for the next curveball question, the next hiring manager, the next opportunity to present not just what I do, but how I do it or why it's important to me.
Yes.
Um, the next success story, how do I want to just polish a little bit more every time?
Yes. I love that. Thank you for sharing your experiences through those really tough interviews and times because we all have them. My clients all have them, and it's hard to see that the position that they're really going to be a great fit for is coming. The closer that you're getting to that, it's on its way. And
Yeah,
I know that people are on that trajectory and in that direction. But I love how it's validated and verified when I get the email and they tell me, I got that
I
awesome
did it.
job,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
did. Um, I want to just kind of just say thank you so much for being inspiring, for being thoughtful, for being hopeful, and sharing so honestly your experience. Because people really need to feel like they're not alone right now. And you had a few suggestions that you were going to throw in there, and I wanted to just kind of have you share some words of wisdom,
Yeah.
things that people can do, to kind of
Well,
make
just
their lives easier.
for other job seekers, just to know, I landed a job that um, is a great title and a fit for my capabilities. Uh, just to be clear, I applied for almost 200 positions in these 7 months. So there is a part of this that is a numbers game,
Yeah.
and an endurance test.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of a friend who is getting ready to walk the Camino. Um, and we bought little things for his laces that said like you got this, and then on the other foot it says just take the next step.
Oh,
Um, I feel like job searchers need those too, because there is just so much of just keep going and do the next thing and see what you can learn. Part of what settled out for me, though, is that I noticed myself really gravitating towards product positions, sometimes program management that had sort of a product feel in the description. And I needed it to hit at least one of these three areas of expertise for me. It either needed to be about at a workplace that was using Agile, or it needed to involve AI because I have worked with AI products and it's just a really fascinating way to lean the product skill set and the technology skill set, or it needed to use learning. The job that I got is two of those three,
awesome.
um, and it's a product position. But part of what settled out of me noticing, like, I'm not just looking for anything that says product manager, product owner, program manager, is that I started to notice myself kind of unofficially giving 80% of my job search attention to about 20% of the job postings. So
Okay.
if it had agile
Yeah.
learning or AI in it, it was likely to be color coded differently on my spreadsheet. And like it took precedence. I would get that application in earlier. I would spend more time on it. If and when I got an interview, making sure that I did really deep dive research on the company, the hiring manager, the job, preparing for the interview took precedence over other things. I did take interviews where it's like, yes, I could be a product owner for this banking group, even though that's not, my first love. And at a time when I was concurrently interviewing for 5 positions, banking was down here. It's like, yep, I have my pitch ready. I'm ready with some basic questions for the hiring manager and some basic questions from them. And if it was learning AI agile, well, then I spent a lot more time on it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's valuable because not only are you then going to be giving your best to the jobs that are best fits for you and for what's going to get you excited, you're also sort of teaching yourself, where am I headed next? You're
Absolutely.
you're self-reinforcing, like what matters to me in my next role.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that I did is when I had strategies that weren't working, I didn't stay stuck in that strategy. Somebody once said to me, "How do you keep going when what you're doing just gives you the same bad results?" And I was like, I don't. I don't keep doing the same things. I I I mean, I think I rewrote my resume about 9 times.
Hmm.
And I landed on an outcomes-based resume where I used very functional job titles, which means in some cases I changed my job title
Uh-huh.
so that a hiring manager that didn't live inside my tiny startup understood
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
was.
That you were doing.
And I had a very specific prompt that I used to have AI give me some suggestions to tweak resumes. As I submitted them, I still continued to use my eyes, human in the loop.
Yep.
I
Yep.
didn't have AI rewrite resumes for me.
Yeah.
I also used AI as a tool to help prepare me for interviews. Hey, take this resume, take this job description, take a
Yeah.
description that I found on LinkedIn of this hiring manager. Tell me the top 12 questions that they might ask me. And then I prepared for those.
I love that. That right there is a golden jewel.
Oh, it's so easy, right? Like I could have spent 2 hours coming up with that, but
Yeah.
AI does it in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you put together a little document. Um, the other thing I did is I really used some time where I was not actively digitally hunting in the wild to
Yeah.
do some learning. I took an AI workshop. I took a product manager level up class for
Yeah.
8 weeks. I did a deep dive on metrics for learning products and platform products. I read a bunch of books, and I still gave myself a little bit of time every week to not be thinking all about this, whether it was cooking with my partner or seeing friends or doing something with my dogs. And then the final thing I want to say is it's hard out there. Don't do it alone. So, have a coach that will dance with you in the moment and say what's going on today. But also, please, if you've exited with a bunch of people, something we did is we got together weekly for about 4 months to support each other and then learn together. Some of us would get together at a coffee shop and look at each other's resumes,
Yeah.
call each other and say, hey, this happened.
The
Um,
support network that you were together was so inspiring.
yeah,
And
we
I
genuinely
love
liked each
don't
other.
do it alone. I love your don't do it alone. And so if people do have the opportunity to have people that they can connect with who are in their same shoes, that is powerful as
Don't
well.
do it alone. It's so much easier to say to somebody else, hey, you're doing your best, than to say it to yourself. And if you do it for somebody else, they're going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Christy, I just love that. And yeah, what an amazing cheerleader and inspiration you have been to so many
Thank you.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot of us have
you walk
landed.
the
I'm
talk.
actually at the
You
late
walk
end of
the
the
talk,
group.
woman.
Yeah. A lot of people in my cohort have landed. And that's the other thing is celebrate the milestones, right? Not just the job that you get. Celebrate that other people out
Absolutely.
there are getting jobs. Their network can become yours. It
Absolutely.
proves that you can land. Celebrate that you got the next interview. But
Absolutely.
like celebrate along the way when you can.
I love that. Any additional gems of wisdom? Because you've shared a lot. And I love
Um,
that last one right there too.
Yeah, I think I have one last one. You are not the market, right? What your skills and what you bring may be fitting in to where the market is at, but the market does not define your skills and your value. It's just the situation that you're in. It's just the water that your boat is on right now.
Thank you. Thank you for being so incredibly awesome, you, and sharing
Yeah.
your story and celebrating your success. You got this awesome, awesome new position, and I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. When do you start?
I actually start on Monday. I'm really thrilled. So I start 2 work days from now. Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, and I'll just, I'll tell everybody like when you land and they call you and say you were our first choice, there's really it's like having a pillow that only has cool sides of the pillowcase, right? Like there's no better feeling. It's pretty great. So when you land, enjoy that moment
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that and enjoy that and celebrate that and just know that's on the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Thank you,
really,
Sheila.
really appreciate you sharing all of this.
Absolutely.
Stay there. Oh,
You're so pretty.
I don't know if it's going to stop. I don't see pod. I just want to say thank you for I just want to say thank you for joining Christy and I in our conversation. I think it's important for you to know right now that you are not alone, that you have the support. I'm here for you. Hopefully, you have some colleagues that are there for you. You have friends, family, some people who are good support systems. And, we're here to support you in moving through a challenging labor market, job search, and that it's okay to have rough and tough days. It's okay to have all the feelings that you're feeling and feeling through it to get up and to do it again. And to know that persevering and not giving up is what will get you to that next opportunity. Sometimes that next opportunity is going to be your next best job. And I say job, and sometimes it is a job, and it's not always in your career direction. And sometimes markets like the one we're in right now are going to support the next job rather than the next career jump. And I want you to know that you have to come to terms with that, that to be okay with that, for it to meet your needs for what you need now. But you also need to know to not let go of the fact that you're moving into a different direction. You do have an ideal, dreamy job that is out there for you that's going to be much more ideal fit. And I would love to support you in finding that if I'm not working with you. If I am working with you, you know that we're on that journey and you're going to get closer to it every day that goes by. And until you land that. And I'm going to be here to celebrate that with you too. Celebrating those small steps is just as important as celebrating the big ones. And so I just want to say, congratulations for putting yourself out there and doing what you need to do because it's going to pay off in the end. And I'm going to be there to celebrate with you. So have a good one. And thanks again for joining us. Take care.